I'm just going to be on here for just a little bit. But I saw this clip, and it was on CNN, and they were talking, they had a panel which included Sam Donaldson and Carl Bernstein, and it's only a clip of it, so the whole thing's not on there. But they were talking about how Fox News has been spreading misinformation for years. But you know, the root of the problem with this brainwashing of almost half the voting population is not solely due to Fox News. If you want to get really honest about it, it was the repeal of the Fairness Doctrine in 1987, which set the stage for this nonstop hate radio and propaganda, furthermore deregulating like the Communications Act, the deregulations, plus not putting limits, repealing the limits on how many stations an outfit can own. All those kind of things. Those are secondary. The repeal of the Fairness Doctrine was absolutely critical for the far right to get a hold of public discourse, twist it, and literally brainwash at least one, maybe two generations of voters. And at the time I had first heard about Reagan repealing this, the administration repealing this, that it was such a burden. There was all kinds of stupid. It was libertarian, basically libertarian crap was the justification for it. In line with all their neoliberal crap and their deregulation crap. When I heard that, I thought right then it's going to be nothing but propaganda. And you know what? 33 years later, well, even before that, I was proven right. That is the single worst policy decision that has been made by the federal government in the last 50 years. And we're paying the price for this. And the thing is, the repeal was single-handedly responsible for the rise of Rush Limbaugh. He was a nobody when he worked in broadcasting in Sacramento, California. He was a nobody who became a somebody. And furthermore, back in the day, it was mostly local stations that had talk shows. There were a few like KGO and the one in Colorado that I can't think of right off the bat. That employed Alan Berg, but they had that, and they would have like 50,000 watts, and they would spread all over the United States, or Western United States, their reach. But even those stations, they had to be open. Their stations were required to present opposing viewpoints, if asked, or they would lose their licenses, or there would be sanctions on their licenses. And the Fairness Doctrine did away with that. So instead of these local stations doing talk shows, then you had the syndicated outfits like Rush Limbaugh and others who had these shows, and they would just say nonstop monologues, and there was absolutely no other side presented. It was totally twisted, totally distorted. A few years later, it seeped into news, quote unquote. And it seeped into it, and I'm sick of this phone. I ought to unplug it when I go and start a video. But anyway, Fox News then put opinion and called it news in a news format. And so they didn't even pretend to present another side. If they presented another side, it was a completely twisted take on what the other side or other viewpoints were, because they had an agenda. And Rupert Murdoch came from print media in the UK, where they do wear their opinion on their sleeve. That's print media. Print media is a completely different kettle of fish, just like the internet is a completely different kettle of fish than broadcast media. Because broadcast media, even now we talk about how great the internet is and how, that's what people go to. No, it doesn't have, and it never will have the reach of broadcast media to blanket the public And that's why those airwaves were so important to be, because they were publicly owned. And the same thing is true with cable. The Fairness Doctrine needed to be updated to cover cable, or even the internet. But the internet is a different animal. It's more like print. It's more like print media. But they allowed, so Fox was allowed to run rampant. So then you had nonstop propaganda. So there's no point sitting here trying to analyze what is so obvious to these people like Bernstein, Carl Bernstein, who was print media, and Sam Donaldson, who was broadcast media, to talk about what the problem is. They know where the problem is. They know good and well. They're older than I am. And they know where the problem lies. And that was the repeal of the Fairness Doctrine. And now we have a mess. We have a total mess because half the public is in a completely distorted reality from what everybody else sees. It's totally screwed up, and you can't do anything about it. And yeah, I'm not sure the country can be saved at this point because the far right got control of the media, the broadcast media, the airwaves that are owned by the public. And that's all I have to say about it.